"Daddy, can we help her?" Those 4 words would change everything. Jake Miller had $12 left to his name, a daughter who believed her father was still a hero, and 30 seconds to decide if protecting a stranger was worth risking everything. He didn't know the 2 men harassing that woman weren't just bullies. He didn't know someone was watching, testing, waiting. He just knew his little girl was looking up at him, and cowards don't raise brave children. "You know what your problem is, Miller. You still think being a good man matters." Jake replayed those words every night, lying awake, while rain drummed against the window, and Ella slept on the pull-out couch, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin. 6 months since he'd lost his job. 6 months of watching his savings evaporate like morning fog. 6 months of learning that being good paid exactly nothing. Murphy's Diner smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams. The vinyl booth squeaked as Ella bounced, pressing her nose against the laminated menu, even though Jake already knew what they'd order, what they could afford. "Daddy, can I get the pancakes?" Sarah's eyes looking up at him, blue as summer sky. Careful hope in her voice because she'd learned. 7 years old and already compromising, already making herself smaller to fit their shrinking world. Jake's throat burned. $12 in his wallet. Pancakes were $7. That left bus fare and nothing else. "Sure, baby. Pancakes it is." Her whole face lit up, and something cracked inside his chest. He'd skip dinner. She'd never know. "Extra chocolate chips?" Ella whispered the words like a prayer. "Extra chocolate chips." Jake forced a smile. "Why not?" The waitress came over, tired eyes kind, and didn't comment on the fact they'd been coming here every week, always ordering the cheapest items, always counting change. Her name tag said Rita. She'd seen everything in this diner, Jake figured. Probably seen 100 guys like him drowning slowly in unemployment and grief. "How was school today?" Jake asked while they waited, trying to sound like fathers were supposed to sound. Present, engaged, not terrified. "Mrs. Peterson said we're doing family trees next week." Ella's voice dropped. "We need pictures." There it was. The punch to the gut that came without warning. Pictures meant Sarah. Meant explaining again to a 7-year-old why Mommy's branch stopped, why the tree had a hole nothing could fill. "We'll find good ones," Jake said, and heard his voice crack. "Maybe that beach picture, where Mommy built the sandcastle. The turtle one." Ella giggled. She said it was a dragon. "Daddy, it was definitely a turtle." For 5 seconds, the fluorescent lights didn't feel so harsh. For 5 seconds, Jake could pretend they were normal. That Sarah would be home when they got there, humming in the kitchen, flour on her nose from baking something. Then he heard it. "Come on, sweetheart. Don't be like that." The voice came from behind him. Male, mid-30s. That edge of aggression wrapped in false friendliness that Jake recognized from 1,000 security calls. Predators always sounded friendly at first. "I said no. Please, leave me alone." A woman's voice, firm but strained like a rope pulled too tight. Jake turned his head slightly. 3 booths back, woman sitting alone by the rain-streaked window, laptop open, trying to work. Dark hair, business clothes, probably stopped for lunch between meetings. 2 men standing over her booth, blocking her in. One was sliding into her seat without invitation. Jake's training kicked in automatic. Assess the threat. 2 males, late 20s, both fit. One drunk or high pupils too wide. The other sober but enjoying this too much. Woman outnumbered, cornered, trying to stay calm. Rita the waitress saw it. Jake watched her eyes flick toward the woman, then away. The cook at the grill suddenly found the burger fascinating. Couple in the corner booth went silent, staring at their phones. Everyone saw. Nobody moved. "We're just being friendly." The bigger man leaned across the woman's table, invading her space. "You're too pretty to eat alone." "I'm working. Please respect that." The first man laughed, and it sounded like glass breaking. "Hear that, Danny? She's working. Too busy for us regular guys. Danny reached across and closed the woman's laptop. Just shut it. Proprietary. Possessive. Like he had rights to her space, her time, her attention. Now you can pay attention proper, Danny said. Jake felt his jaw clench, felt his hands tighten on the table edge, felt every instinct Sarah used to tease him about rising up. She'd called it his hero complex, said he couldn't watch injustice without wanting to fix it. It got you fired, she'd said once months before the cancer diagnosis. Standing up for that employee they were mistreating. That's why you lost the promotion. I know, Jake had answered, but I'd do it again. Sarah had kissed him then. I know you would. That's why I love you, you stubborn idiot. God. He missed her. Missed someone believing his stubborn heroism meant something. Daddy? Ella's voice cut through the memory. She'd noticed. Of course she had. Sarah's heart in a small body feeling everyone's pain like it was her own. Eat your pancakes, baby. Jake tried to sound casual, but Ella wasn't eating. She was staring at the woman, watching her shoulders tense, watching her hands grip her laptop like a lifeline. Daddy, she looks scared. Jake looked back at the scene. Danny had his hand on the woman's laptop, now keeping it closed. The other man was scrolling through his phone, showing Danny something, both of them laughing. The woman sat frozen, calculating her options. Run, scream, and risk escalating it. Give me my laptop back. Her voice was steel-wrapped in velvet. Now. Give us your number first. Danny grinned. Fair trade. I don't trade with bullies. Wrong move. Jake saw it instantly. Danny's expression shifted, pride-wounded anger flashing. Men like that couldn't handle rejection, especially public rejection. Bullies. Danny's voice went cold. That's what you think we are. The temperature in the diner dropped 10 degrees. Jake saw the woman realize her mistake, saw her trying to backpedal without losing ground. I didn't mean, nah, you meant it. The first man leaned closer. Thought you were better than us, didn't you? Thought you could insult us. This was the moment. Jake knew it from years of experience. This was when situations flipped from annoying to dangerous, when egos got involved, when men stopped playing and started punishing. Daddy! Ella's small hand touched his arm. Can we help her? 4 words. 4 words from a child who still believed her father was a hero, who hadn't learned yet that heroes lost jobs, couldn't pay bills, died broke and forgotten, while bad men prospered. Jake thought about his captain's words. You still think being a good man matters. Maybe it didn't. Maybe he should stay seated. Finish lunch. Keep his head down like everyone else. But Ella was watching. Ella, who Sarah had made him promise to raise right, to raise brave, to teach that looking away from wrong was wrong itself. Stay here, baby. Jake stood up, his voice gentle. Finish your pancakes. But Daddy, what if... Stay here. His hand squeezed her shoulder. Trust me. Jake walked toward the booth, his heart hammering hands steady from muscle memory. 1,000 situations like this. 1,000 times stepping between predators and prey. The training never left. Even broke and unemployed, the training stayed. Gentlemen? His voice was calm, conversational. He stopped 3 feet back, hands visible, posture non-threatening. Lady asked you to leave her alone. How about we respect that? Both men turned, looked him up and down. Worn jeans jacket with a broken zipper, 2-day stubble, desperation in his wallet. Not impressive, not threatening. This your girlfriend? Danny sneered. Never seen her before. Jake kept his breathing even. But I heard her say no 5 times, so maybe find somewhere else to sit. The first man stood, stepped close enough that Jake smelled beer and cigarettes. Maybe mind your own business before you get hurt, old man. Old man. Jake was 34, but yeah, he probably looked older. Stress and grief did that. I'm making it my business. Jake didn't step back, never step back. Walk away now, keep your dignity. Stay lucid in front of everyone. Your choice. Danny stood up too. Bigger than Jake expected. Younger. Probably hadn't missed a meal in his life. You security or something? Danny tilted his head. Got that cop vibe. Used to be. Jake's eyes didn't waver. Private corporate security. Dealt with everything from shoplifters to armed intruders. And I'm trying real hard to let you boys leave without embarrassment. Don't waste my kindness. The diner had gone silent. Forks stopped mid-air. Conversations died. Everyone watching. Phones probably recording. Great. The last thing Jake needed was going viral, getting destroyed by two guys half his age. Shoplifters to armed intruders, the first man mocked. So basically, mall cop with delusions. That's supposed to scare us. Nothing's supposed to scare you. Jake's voice dropped lower. But something should make you think. Like the fact everyone here is recording. Like the fact you cornered a woman, refused to leave when asked, and are about to assault someone who tried to help. That'll look real good when cops show up. Danny's face flushed. You calling the cops? Don't have to. Jake gestured around the room. Guarantee someone already did. So you can leave now or explain to officers why you're harassing people. Your move. For a second, Jake thought it would work. Saw Danny calculating, saw the doubt creeping in. Then the first man said, he's bluffing. Nobody called shit. And Danny moved. Fast. Faster than Jake expected. Haymaker aimed at his jaw, expecting the older guy to flinch. Jake didn't flinch. Training kicked in automatic. Sidestep. Catch the wrist. Use momentum. Spin. Drive. Danny's face hit the table with a solid cracked nose exploding blood across the laminate. The first man lunged. Jake was already turning. Elbow to solar plexus. Fold him, control the descent. 5 seconds. Both men on the ground gasping, bleeding, shocked. Don't get up. Jake's voice was steady, even though his hands were shaking. I don't want to hurt you more, but I will if I have to. Danny rolled over, blood streaming. You broke my fucking nose. It's just bleeding. Pinch the bridge, tilt your head back. You'll be fine. Jake kept himself between them and the woman. If I'd broken it, you wouldn't be talking. The first man was gasping, clutching his stomach. You're crazy. You're fucking insane. Maybe. Jake shrugged. Or maybe I'm just tired of guys like you thinking the world owes you something. The lady said no. That's a complete sentence. Should have listened. He glanced at the woman for the first time. Really looked at her. Dark hair, sharp eyes, expensive watch. She was pressed back in the booth, but assessing him, calculating something behind those eyes. You okay, ma'am? Yes, thank you. Her voice was different now, stronger, like she'd found her footing again. Danny struggled to his feet, murder in his eyes. Blood dripped from his chin onto his shirt. This isn't over, he hissed. Jake pulled out his phone, held it up. It is, because I'm calling the police now. You cornered this woman, refused to leave, assaulted me when I intervened. Everyone saw, everyone recorded. Plus, you did it in front of my 7-year-old daughter. He let that sink in. Courts don't like men who scare children. So here's the deal. Apologize to this lady. Leave. We all pretend this was a misunderstanding. Or I press charges and you explain this to a judge. Choose. The silence stretched. Danny and his friend looked at each other, at the blood at the phones, pointed their way. Finally, Danny turned to the woman. Sorry. We were out of line. Look at her when you say it, Jake said quietly. And mean it. Danny met the woman's eyes. I'm sorry. We shouldn't have done that. The woman nodded, once her face unreadable. Good. Now leave. And next time you want to talk to someone, Jake stepped aside. Try starting with respect. You'd be amazed how well that works. The men shuffled toward the exit. Danny holding his nose, his friend still wheezing. The door banged shut. The diner breathed again. Someone started clapping. Then another person. Then the whole room erupted. Jake felt his face flush. He hated this part. The attention, the hero worship. He'd just done what anyone should do. He turned back to the woman. "You sure you're okay? Want me to call police, file a report?" No, that won't be necessary. She was gathering her things with quick, efficient movements. "I'm fine. Thank you for helping." Anyone would have done the same. But they didn't. Her eyes swept the room hard as diamonds. Everyone looked away. "You did." Jake shrugged, uncomfortable. "My kid was watching. Had to set an example." The woman's expression softened. "Your daughter. Where?" "Booth up front. I should get back." Jake glanced over. Ella sat frozen pancakes, untouched, eyes huge. "She's probably terrified." "Wait." The woman pulled a business card from her purse, pressed it into his palm. Thick paper, expensive. "My name is Clara. Clara Donovan. I won't forget what you did today." Jake looked at the card. Clara Donovan, CEO, Donovan Security Group. CEO. Of course. Universe had a sense of humor. Guy with $12 saves a CEO, like a bad movie. "It's nothing." Jake tried to hand it back. "Really, you don't need to." "Keep it. Please." Clara's voice was firm, brooking no argument. "In case you ever need anything." Jake pocketed the card to be polite. They both knew he'd never call. What would a broke ex-security guard need from a CEO? "Take care, ma'am." "Clara," she corrected. "And you are?" "Jake. Jake Miller." "Jake Miller." Clara shouldered her bag, and something shifted in her expression. Business mask sliding into place. "I don't forget debts. I'll be in touch." She left before Jake could protest, pressing a $20 bill into Rita's hand on the way out, even though she'd never ordered. Jake walked back to his booth. Ella practically vibrated with questions. "Daddy? Oh my gosh, you were like Captain America. How did you do that? Were you scared I was so scared? But then you were okay, and those bad men left and everyone clapped and—" "Ella, breathe!" Jake slid into the booth, hands shaking now that adrenaline was fading. "Eat your pancakes before they get cold, baby." "But you saved her." Ella's eyes shone. "You're a hero." "I just did what was right." Jake picked up his water, tried to keep his hands steady. "She needed help. We helped." "Nobody else helped, though." Ella's voice went quiet, thoughtful. "Everyone just watched." Jake didn't have an answer. He stared at his cold, grilled cheese appetite gone. Rita brought the check. Jake reached for his wallet, calculating damage. "It's paid for," Rita said softly, putting a hand on his arm. "The lady covered it, and she left this." She placed a folded paper on the table. Jake opened it. "Thank you for being brave when no one else was. The world needs more people like you. I meant what I said. I'll be in touch." Below that, a phone number, same as the business card. Jake folded the note carefully. Nice gesture, empty promise. That's how these things worked. Brief moments of connection, then everyone returned to their separate worlds. She'd forget by next week. "Ready, baby." Jake helped Ella into her jacket as the rain drummed harder outside. "Let's go home." They walked to the bus stop through puddles. Ella skipping, despite the weather still buzzing. Jake pulled his jacket tighter, water soaking through the broken zipper, and tried not to think about the rent notice waiting at home. About the job interview he'd bombed yesterday. About Sarah being gone 2 years, and some days it still felt like yesterday. Tried not to think about whether being good actually mattered. "Daddy." Ella grabbed his hand as the bus approached. "I'm proud of you." Jake's throat closed. "Thanks, baby. I'm proud of you too." "Why I didn't do anything?" "You asked if we could help. That takes courage." Jake lifted her onto the bus, fishing for exact change. "Some people see bad things and look away. You looked right at it and said we should do something. That's the bravest thing of all." Ella thought about that as they found seats in the back bus rumbling to life. Do you think we'll see that lady again? I doubt it, baby. Jake stared out the rain-streaked window. She's probably got a big, important life. She was pretty. Jake smiled despite everything. Yeah, she was. And nice. She paid for our food. She did. So maybe she meant it. Maybe something good will happen. Jake looked at his daughter, Sarah's optimism living in a 7-year-old body, still believing good things happen to good people. Maybe, he said, even though he knew better. But Jake didn't see the black sedan parked across the street. Didn't notice the woman in the back seat, phone pressed to her ear, watching their bus pull away. Didn't notice Clara Donovan's expression as she spoke quietly into the phone. I need a complete background check. Jake Miller, former private security. I want everything. Employment history, financials, personal life, family situation, everything. A pause while someone responded. Why? Clara's voice was cold, calculated. Because what just happened wasn't random, and I need to know if he's exactly what I've been looking for, or if he's the biggest threat I've ever faced. Another pause. The test isn't over. It's just beginning, and Jake Miller has no idea what he just walked into. Neither do I. That's what worries me. Clara ended the call, still watching the bus disappear into rain and distance. In the diner behind her, Rita was wiping down the booth where it all happened, where blood still stained the table, where 2 men had learned a lesson, and 1 man had proven something without meaning to. On the table, forgotten in the chaos, a small piece of paper had fallen from someone's pocket. Rita picked it up, unfolded it. It was a note in different handwriting than Clara's. Masculine, precise, subject located, responded as predicted. Recommend immediate escalation to Phase 2. Subject's daughter could be potential leverage or liability. Advise caution. Rita stared at the note. Then at the door where Jake and Ella had left. Then at the black sedan still idling across the street. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and took a picture of the note. She'd seen enough crime dramas to know. This wasn't over. That man who'd played hero, he'd just painted a target on his back. And his little girls. Rita looked at the number on Clara's business card still sitting on the booth. Should she call, warn him? But warn him about what? She didn't understand any of this. She crumpled the note, shoved it in her apron, and tried to forget. Tried to tell herself it was none of her business. But as she wiped blood from the table, Rita whispered a prayer she hadn't said since her own daughter died. God, protect that little girl. Whatever's coming, protect her. Please. Outside, rain fell harder. The sedan pulled away. And somewhere across town, Jake Miller tucked his daughter into bed, kissed her forehead, and had no idea his life had just ended. The test was over. The real game was just beginning. And Jake Miller, the broke hero with a good heart and a dead wife's memory, had just become the most valuable piece on a board he couldn't see. Clara Donovan knew. She'd known the moment he moved. The moment he proved he was exactly what her company needed, or exactly what would destroy it. She just had to figure out which. And she had exactly 72 hours before everything went to hell. The knock came at 7:30 in the morning, sharp and professional, 3 precise raps that pulled Jake from the kind of sleep that wasn't really sleep at all. More like floating in that space between exhausted and unconscious, where Sarah's face appeared in dreams and disappeared when he reached for her. Daddy, someone's at the door. Ella's voice came from the pull-out couch, small and uncertain. She'd been having nightmares since yesterday, kept asking if those bad men knew where they lived if they'd come back. Stay there, baby. Jake pulled on yesterday's jeans, ran a hand through his hair. Probably bill collectors, or the landlord, someone wanting money he didn't have. He checked the peephole. Clara Donovan stood in the hallway looking exactly like someone who didn't belong in this building. Crisp black suit hair pulled back everything about her, screaming money and power. Behind her stood a man in a dark uniform, hands clasped in front of him, ex-military stance, obvious even through the door. Jake's stomach dropped. CEO types didn't show up at crappy apartments at 7:30 in the morning unless something was very wrong. He opened the door, keeping it chained. "Ms. Donovan." "Mr. Miller, I apologize for the early hour." Clara's voice was all business, nothing like the shaken woman from yesterday. "May I come in? I promise this won't take long." "How did you get my address?" "I looked you up. I hope you don't mind." Jake minded a lot. But Ella was watching from the couch, curious and scared, and he couldn't have this conversation in the hallway where Mrs. Chen might hear. He unhooked the chain, stepped back. 5 minutes. I've got to get my daughter ready for school." Clara walked, in the uniformed man following. Jake's apartment looked worse than usual in morning light. Dishes in the sink. Ella's homework scattered on the coffee table, clothes draped over chairs because they didn't have a real dresser. The whole place probably looked like what it was: a man drowning slowly in poverty while trying to keep his kid's head above water. "This is Marcus Webb," Clara said, gesturing to the man. "Head of my personal security detail." Webb nodded, once his eyes already scanning the apartment. Not judging, Jake realized. Assessing. Looking for threats, exits, vulnerabilities. Jake recognized the behavior. He'd done the same thing for years. "Mr. Miller, I'll get straight to the point." Clara turned to face him fully. "What happened yesterday at the diner wasn't random." Jake felt his chest tighten. "What do you mean?" "Those 2 men were my employees. Undercover operatives testing public response for a campaign on bystander intervention and public safety awareness." The words took a second to land. "You're telling me that was staged?" "Yes and no." Clara's expression didn't change. "They were supposed to harass my assistant at a different location. You weren't part of the scenario. Neither was that diner. My assistant called in sick, so I went to grab lunch alone, and apparently my team decided to improvise without informing me. So I assaulted your employees." Jake's mind raced. Lawsuit. Criminal charges. Everything getting worse because he'd tried to do the right thing. "That's why you're here. To press charges." "No." Clara's voice was sharp. "I'm here because you were the only person in that entire diner who acted. 23 people in that restaurant. 23. And only one stood up." "I don't understand." "Neither did I at first." Clara pulled out a tablet, tapped the screen. "But then I ran your background. Jake Miller, age 34. Former Director of Security Operations for Sentinel Corporate Protection. Specialized in high-risk client protection, threat assessment, crisis intervention. Exemplary record. Commendations from 4 different clients. And then 2 years ago, your wife Sarah was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. You took a leave of absence to care for her. She died 7 months later." Jake's jaw clenched. "You had no right. You returned to work 3 months after her death. But you weren't the same, according to your supervisor. You'd lost your edge, became emotionally volatile, got into a confrontation with a senior executive who was sexually harassing a junior employee. You physically removed him from the building. He pressed charges. Sentinel fired you to avoid liability. The charges were dropped, but your reputation was destroyed. No one in private security would touch you." "Get out." Jake's voice was ice. "Get out of my apartment right now." "Daddy?" Ella's small voice cut through the tension. "What's wrong?" Clara looked at Ella, then back at Jake. Her expression softened slightly. "Mr. Miller, I didn't come here to hurt you. I came to offer you a job." Jake blinked. "What?" "Director of Field Training, Donovan Security Group. Salary of $95,000 a year, full benefits, company housing if needed. You'd be responsible for training our operatives in ethical intervention, de-escalation tactics, and crisis response, teaching them to be exactly what you were yesterday." The number hit Jake like a physical blow. 95,000. He'd made 60 at Sentinel, and that had felt like winning the lottery. 95,000 would change everything. Rent, food, Ella's school, maybe even therapy to help her process Sarah's death properly. "Why?" The word came out hoarse. "Why me?" Because yesterday proved something I've suspected for years. Our industry has a problem. We train people to be tough, to be intimidating, to be warriors. But we don't train them to be good, to have ethics, to understand that real strength is knowing when to fight and when to show compassion. Clara's voice gained intensity. You didn't just stop a threat yesterday, Mr. Miller. You de-escalated it. You gave those men a chance to leave with dignity. You were firm, but not cruel. And you did all of it in front of your daughter, teaching her that protecting people is about more than violence. That's what I need. That's what my company lacks. Jake looked at Ella, who was watching this whole conversation with wide eyes, not understanding, but feeling the weight of it. I need to think about it, Jake said finally. Of course. But Mr. Miller, Clara's voice dropped. I should tell you there's a complication. Of course there is. Those two men yesterday, the ones you restrained, one of them filed an internal complaint claiming you used excessive force. He wants you charged with assault. I've blocked it for now, but if you don't work for me, I can't protect you. And he's connected. His uncle is a district attorney. Jake's blood went cold. So this isn't really a job offer. It's blackmail. No. Clara's eyes flashed. It's reality. You're an unemployed ex-security officer who assaulted someone even if you had good reason. Without my backing, without proof you were intervening in a legitimate threat, you're vulnerable. With my company behind you, you're an employee who stopped a harassment situation using appropriate force. The narrative matters, Mr. Miller, and right now, I control the narrative. Ms. Donovan, I'll give you 24 hours to decide. Marcus will leave you his card. Call any time. Clara moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I mean every word about needing someone like you. My father built this company on fear and intimidation. I'm trying to rebuild it on something better, but I can't do it alone. She left Marcus following, and suddenly Jake's apartment felt even smaller than before, the walls closing in. Daddy. Ella climbed off the couch, came to stand next to him. Is everything okay? I don't know, baby. Jake pulled her close. I really don't know. They got ready for school in silence. Jake made breakfast, toast with the last of the peanut butter, and tried to make sense of what just happened. A job offer that wasn't really an offer. A test that wasn't really a test. A CEO who looked at him like he was either the solution to all her problems or the cause of new ones. He walked Ella to the bus stop, holding her hand tighter than usual. That lady wants to give you a job, Ella asked as they waited. Yeah, she does. That's good, right? You've been looking for a job forever. It's complicated, baby. Why? Because sometimes people offer things that seem too good to be true, and usually that means they are. Ella thought about this, her face serious. But she seemed nice. And you saved her. Maybe she just wants to say thank you. Maybe. Jake kissed the top of her head as the bus approached. Be good today, okay? I'll pick you up at 3. Okay. Daddy? Yeah. I love you. You're the best daddy ever, even if you don't have a job. Jake's throat closed. He watched the bus pull away. Ella's small face in the window giving him a thumbs up, and something inside him cracked wider. Sarah would know what to do. Sarah always knew. She was the smart one, the strategic thinker. Jake was just the guy who ran toward danger while everyone else ran away. He walked back to the apartment, Marcus Webb's business card burning in his pocket. Called the number before he could overthink it. Webb answered on the first ring. Mr. Miller, I need to talk to Clara, not at my apartment, somewhere public. Understood. Giovanni's Coffee on 5th Street, 30 minutes. I'll be there. Jake changed into his one good shirt, the one without stains, and caught the bus downtown. Giovanni's was the kind of place where coffee cost $8 and everyone worked on MacBooks. Jake felt out of place the second he walked in. Clara sat in the back corner, 2 cups already on the table. She'd changed into more casual clothes, jeans and a sweater, but somehow still looked expensive. Mr. Miller, thank you for coming. Jake sat down. I have questions. I expected you would. Why the elaborate background check? Why show up at my apartment? If you just wanted to hire me, you could have called. Clara took a sip of coffee, considering. Because I needed to know who you really are. Not the resume version. Not the hero who stepped in at a diner. I needed to know if you're someone I can trust. Trust with what? Rebuilding my father's company into something that doesn't make me ashamed. Clara's voice was quiet but fierce. Donovan's security group has a reputation. We're effective but brutal. We protect clients through intimidation and overwhelming force. My father believed fear was the only currency that mattered. He died 6 months ago, and I inherited a company built on his philosophy. And I hate it. So change it. I'm trying. But the board fights me on everything. My senior staff think ethics are weakness. Half my operatives would quit if I softened our approach. And then there's Marcus. You're head of security. Marcus Vale. My ex-fiancé, actually. We were engaged 3 years ago. I found out he was embezzling from the company using our operatives for side jobs, bribing officials. I ended the engagement, exposed him to the board. They forced him out but gave him a severance package to keep him quiet. He's been trying to destroy me ever since. Jake processed this. And you think I can help with that? How? By being living proof that strength and ethics aren't opposites. By training a new generation of operatives who understand that protecting people means more than hurting their enemies. By showing everyone that my father's way isn't the only way. That's a lot of pressure on one guy. I know. Clara met his eyes. But yesterday you proved something. You protected me, not because you were paid to, not because you were ordered to, but because it was right. That's the kind of person I need. The kind my company needs. Jake wanted to believe her. God, he wanted to. Wanted to believe that being good actually meant something, that his dead-end life could turn around, that Ella could have the childhood she deserved. But Sarah's voice echoed in his head. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. I need guarantees, Jake said. In writing. That I won't be charged for yesterday. That my job is secure. That if this goes south, I can walk away without legal consequences. Done. I'll have contracts drawn up today. And I want to meet your team first. The people I'd be working with. I'm not walking into a hostile environment blind. Fair. We can arrange that. And most importantly, Jake leaned forward. My daughter comes first. Always. If this job ever puts her at risk, if it ever takes me away from her more than necessary, I walk. No questions asked. Agreed. Clara extended her hand. Do we have a deal, Mr. Miller? Jake looked at her hand. Thought about Ella's face when she said he was the best daddy ever, even without a job. Thought about the rent notice, and the empty fridge, and the constant weight of failure pressing on his chest. Thought about Sarah saying, You can't save everyone, Jake. Sometimes you have to save yourself first. He shook Clara's hand. We have a deal. Relief flooded Clara's face. Thank you. You have no idea what this means. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her entire expression changed. The color drained from her face. What's wrong? Jake asked. Clara showed him the screen. A text message from an unknown number. Just a photo. It was Ella, getting off the school bus, taken this morning. Zoomed in close enough to see her backpack, her sneakers, the stuffed rabbit keychain Sarah had given her. Below the photo, 3 words. Phase 2 begins. Jake's world tilted. Who sent this? I don't know. Clara's hands were shaking. I swear to God, I don't know. Jake grabbed the phone, his training kicking in through the terror. This was taken this morning, right after I left her. Someone's been following us. Someone knows where she goes to school. Mr. Miller. Jake. My name is Jake. His voice was ice. And you're going to tell me everything right now. No more games, no more corporate politics. Someone just threatened my daughter, and you're going to tell me why, or I swear I will. His own phone buzzed, Same unknown number, but different photo. This one was taken inside his apartment. Showed the pull-out couch where Ella slept, her stuffed rabbit on the pillow, the homework scattered on the coffee table. The text below. You have something we need, Mr. Miller. And now we have something you need. Check your daughter's backpack. You'll find instructions. Jake was already running before the message finished loading. Out of the coffee shop down the street toward the school. He didn't care that Clara was calling after him. Didn't care about anything except getting to Ella. He called the school from the bus hands, shaking so bad he could barely hold the phone. Washington Elementary, this is... My daughter Ella Miller, 2nd grade. I need to know if she's okay. Right now. Sir, I can't just... Someone sent me a photo of her getting off the bus this morning. Someone's threatening her. I need to know she's safe. A pause. Hold, please. Jake counted his heartbeats. 23, 24, 25. Mr. Miller. This is Principal Davidson. Ella's fine. She's in class right now. I can see her through the classroom window. She's working on a math worksheet. Jake's legs went weak. Don't let her leave that classroom. Don't let anyone near her. I'm on my way. Mr. Miller, you're scaring me. Should I call the police? Yes. Call them. Tell them someone's stalking my daughter. I'll be there in 10 minutes. He hung up the bus, crawling through traffic that suddenly felt like torture. Clara called his phone 4 times. He ignored her. The 5th time he answered. Jake, please listen. Did you know? His voice was deadly quiet. Did you know someone would target my daughter? No. I swear, I had no idea. That note Rita found yesterday. In the diner. About phase 2. About my daughter being leverage. You knew. You fucking knew someone was watching us. Silence. Clara, answer me. There's a lot you don't understand. Clara's voice was strained. A lot I couldn't tell you. But Jake, I promise you, I would never put a child in danger. Whatever's happening, I didn't plan this. Then who did? I think it's Marcus. This is exactly his style, but I need proof. I don't care what you need. Jake watched the school appear in the distance. I care about Ella. That's it. Whatever game you people are playing, whatever corporate war you've got going, my daughter is off limits. You understand me? Jake. Tell me you understand. I understand. But Jake, you need to hear me. If this is Marcus running, won't help. He'll find you. He's got resources, connections. Your daughter won't be safe anywhere unless we stop him. Then we stop him. So you're still... I'm not doing this for you. Jake's voice was granite. I'm doing it because apparently my daughter's already in danger whether I work for you or not. So yeah, I'm in. But Clara... Yes. If anything happens to Ella, if she gets hurt because of your family drama, your corporate wars, your ex-fiance's revenge plot, I will burn your entire company to the ground, and I'll start with you. He hung up, ran into the school. Principal Davidson met him at the office, 2 police officers already there. Mr. Miller, where's my daughter? Still in class. The officers want to talk to you. The next 20 minutes were a blur. Explaining about the photos, showing them the texts, watching them try to trace the number while knowing it was probably a burner. Useless. All of it useless. Finally, they let him go to Ella's classroom. She looked up when he opened the door, confused. Daddy, what are you doing here? Hey, baby. I needed to see you. Her teacher, Ms. Peterson, looked concerned. Mr. Miller, is everything all right? Can I talk to my daughter for a minute? In the hall. They stepped outside. Jake knelt down, took Ella's small hands in his. Baby, I need you to do something for me. I need you to let me check your backpack. Why? Because someone might have put something in there. Someone who wants to scare us. Ella's eyes went wide. The bad men from yesterday. I don't know, but I need to check, okay? She handed over her backpack. Jake unzipped every pocket, checking carefully. Math books, colored pencils, a half-eaten granola bar, Sarah's rabbit keychain, and in the front pocket, tucked into a small zipper compartment, Ella probably never used, a white envelope. Jake pulled it out with shaking hands. Inside, a single piece of paper with typed text. Mr. Miller, you've been selected for a unique opportunity. Clara Donovan isn't who she says she is. Her job offer is a trap. The photos of your daughter prove we can reach her any time. But we don't want to hurt her. We want to hire you. Real job. Real money. $150,000 a year to do exactly what you did yesterday. Protect people. But protect them from Clara Donovan's corruption. You have 24 hours to decide. Call the number below. Come alone. Tell Clara nothing, or watch your daughter disappear. Below that, a phone number. And a final line. P.S. Ask Clara about the Denver job. Ask her who really died that night. Then decide who the real villain is. Jake stared at the note, his mind racing. 2 job offers in one day. 2 people claiming the other was lying, and his daughter caught in the middle. Daddy, Ella's voice was small. Are we in trouble? Jake folded the note, put it in his pocket, pulled his daughter close. No, baby, we're not in trouble. Everything's going to be okay. But as he held her, feeling her small heartbeat against his chest, Jake knew he was lying. Nothing was okay. And it was about to get a whole lot worse. Jake kept Ella home from school the rest of the day, checked out with some excuse about a doctor's appointment that Principal Davidson didn't question. The police said they'd patrol the neighborhood, promised to follow up on the photos, but Jake saw it in their eyes. Without a clear threat, without an actual crime committed, there was only so much they could do. He took Ella to the public library instead, somewhere with cameras and people and witnesses. Somewhere he could see all the exits. Old habits from his security days, except this time it wasn't protecting a CEO or a politician. This time it was everything that mattered. Ella sat in the children's section, surrounded by picture books she was too old for, but pretended to read anyway. She knew something was wrong. Kids always knew. She kept glancing at him every few minutes, checking that he was still there, still watching. Jake pulled out both phones. His regular one and the burner he'd bought at the convenience store on the way here, paid cash untraceable. He'd learned that trick at Sentinel. Sometimes you needed to make calls that couldn't come back to you. He used his regular phone first. Called Clara. She answered before the first ring finished. Jake, thank God. Are you and Ella? We're safe. For now. Jake kept his voice low, eyes scanning the library. I need you to tell me about Denver. Silence. Long enough that Jake almost thought she'd hung up. Who told you about Denver? Clara's voice had changed. Flat. Careful. Does it matter? Yes, it matters a lot. Someone left a note in my daughter's backpack. Told me to ask you about the Denver job. About who really died that night. So I'm asking. More silence. Jake heard Clara breathing, heard something that might have been a curse under her breath. Where are you? Clara asked finally. Public library on 7th. Stay there. I'm coming to you. Don't talk to anyone. Don't call any numbers you don't recognize. And Jake, yeah. If someone's bringing up Denver, this is worse than I thought. Much worse. She hung up. Jake stared at his phone, then at the note in his hand. The mystery number stared back at him, promising answers, promising money, promising his daughter's safety if he just betrayed Clara Donovan. He looked at Ella, watching her trace her finger along the words in a book about a girl and her dog. Sarah used to read to her every night, used to do the voices, make her laugh, turn bedtime into an adventure. Now Jake did his best, but his voices were terrible, and his timing was off, and some nights Ella cried herself to sleep, missing her mother. What kind of father dragged his kid into this? What kind of man put his daughter in the crosshairs of corporate warfare? The kind who tried to be a hero at a diner, apparently. Jake used the burner phone, dialed the number from the note. It rang once, twice. On the third ring, a man's voice answered. Smooth, confident, the kind of voice that sold things for a living. "Mr. Miller, I was hoping you'd call." "Who are you?" "A friend. Someone who wants to help you and your daughter." Friends don't threaten kids. We didn't threaten her. We proved a point. Clara Donovan's enemies can reach your daughter anytime they want. But we're not her enemies. We're yours. Specifically, we're the people who can keep Ella safe from what's coming. Jake's grip tightened on the phone. What's coming? The same thing that happened in Denver. Clara didn't tell you about that, did she? About the warehouse fire? About the 3 people who died? About how she walked away without a scratch while her own security team burned? You're lying. Am I? Ask her. Ask Clara Donovan why the Denver police still have an open investigation into arson and manslaughter. Ask her why she paid $7 million to the victims' families to make the civil suits disappear. Ask her why Marcus Vail, her ex-fiancé, left the company right after Denver. Because he knew what she did, and he couldn't live with it. Jake felt sick. If this is true, why isn't she in prison? Because she's rich. Because she's connected. Because the Donovan family has judges and politicians in their pocket. But more importantly, because Marcus Vail took the fall. He signed a confession saying he ordered the warehouse operation that Clara knew nothing about it. He destroyed his career to protect her. And how did she repay him? She smeared his name, called him a thief and a liar, destroyed his reputation. That's who you're working for, Mr. Miller. A woman who lets good men burn, literally and figuratively. Why should I believe you? Because deep down you already do. Because you saw how quickly she showed up at your apartment. How easily she dug into your past, how perfectly timed her job offer was. You thought that was coincidence. You thought she just happened to need a director of field training the day after you intervened in a staged harassment scenario. Come on, Mr. Miller, you're smarter than that. Jake's mind raced. The man wasn't wrong. The timing was suspicious. Clara's background check was too thorough, too fast. And that business card she'd given him at the diner before she even knew if he'd accept her offer. Like she'd already decided to hire him before they'd spoken more than 5 words. "What do you want from me?" Jake asked. "Information. Clara's planning something. Another operation like Denver. Marcus needs to know what it is so he can stop it before more people die. You get hired, you get access, you tell us what she's planning. Simple as that. And if I refuse, then we can't protect your daughter. And trust me, Mr. Miller, Clara's enemies are circling. When they move, they won't care about collateral damage. Your little girl will just be another casualty. But work with us and we'll make sure she stays safe. We'll even pay you more than Clara's offering, $150 like the note said, plus a trust fund for Ella's education, plus relocation assistance if you want to disappear after this is done." Jake watched Ella turn a page in her book. She looked so small, so breakable. "I need time to think," Jake said. "You have 24 hours. After that, the offer expires. And Mr. Miller, don't tell Clara about this call. She has ways of making problems disappear. You wouldn't be the first person who got too close to her secrets and ended up in an accident." The line went dead. Jake sat there, the burner phone burning in his hand. 24 hours to betray someone who'd offered him salvation or protect someone who might be a monster. 24 hours to decide if he was the hero or the fool. "Daddy?" Ella stood in front of him holding her book. "Can we go home now? I'm hungry." "Sure, baby. Let's go home." But they didn't go home. Jake knew better. Home wasn't safe. Home was the first place anyone would look. Instead, he took Ella to Mrs. Chen's apartment down the hall. Mrs. Chen had grandkids who visited, sometimes had toys and snacks, and a TV with cartoons. She was also a sweet old woman who asked no questions and loved having Ella visit. Emergency at work. Jake told her, which wasn't exactly a lie. "Can you watch Ella for a few hours? I'll pay you." "No pay." Mrs. Chen waved him off. "Ella, good girl. We make dumplings, watch movies. You go do what you need." Jake knelt down, pulled Ella close. "I'll be back soon." "Okay." You stay with Mrs. Chen. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't leave for any reason. You're scaring me, Daddy. I know. I'm sorry. But I promise everything's going to be okay. I just need to take care of some things. Adult things. Yeah, adult things. Boring things. She tried to smile, trying to be brave. Sarah's daughter through and through. Super boring. So boring you'll be happy you stayed here making dumplings instead. He kissed her forehead, told Mrs. Chen he'd be back by 6, and left before Ella could see how terrified he was. Clara was waiting outside the library when Jake got back, leaning against a black sedan, with Marcus Webb standing nearby. She'd changed again back to business clothes armor against whatever was coming. We need to talk, Jake said. Somewhere private. Get in. They drove in silence. Marcus at the wheel, Clara and Jake in the back. The partition was up, giving them privacy, but Jake could feel Marcus's eyes in the rear-view mirror. Watching. Assessing. Where's Ella? Clara asked. Safe. That's all you need to know. Jake, if someone's targeting her. Someone is targeting her. Because of you. Because I got involved with you. So don't sit there and pretend you're worried about her safety when you're the reason she's in danger. Clara flinched like he'd hit her. You're right. I should have warned you. Should have told you everything before offering you the job. But I thought I had more time. Thought I could ease you into this. I was wrong. Tell me about Denver. Clara closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were harder, older. 3 years ago, we had a client, tech company CEO who'd been getting death threats. My father assigned me to oversee his protection detail. Marcus was my second in command. We did everything right. Vetted the threats, increased security, changed his routines. But someone got to him anyway. How? His own CFO. Turns out the threats were cover for an inside job. The CFO was embezzling millions, knew the CEO was about to discover it. Hired someone to take him out. They lured him to a warehouse on the outskirts of Denver, claimed they had evidence about who was behind the threats. I went with him. Marcus, 3 other operatives. Clara's voice had gone flat, reciting facts like a police report. It was a trap. They set fire to the building while we were inside. The CEO and 2 of my operatives died. Marcus and I barely got out. The 3rd operative, a woman named Jenna Ross, she didn't make it either. The man on the phone said you walked away without a scratch. Said you paid off the families. Said Marcus took the fall. The man on the phone was Marcus, wasn't he? Clara's voice was bitter. Or someone working for him. That's his version of the story. The version where I'm the villain and he's the noble sacrifice. What's your version? The truth. That Marcus started the fire. Jake stared at her. What? He was working with the CFO. They planned the whole thing. Lure the CEO to the warehouse, kill him, collect the insurance money, and the embezzled funds. Split it 50-50. But something went wrong. Maybe the fire spread faster than planned. Maybe Marcus got cold feet. Either way, people died. And when the investigation started, Marcus panicked. He came to me, confessed everything, begged me to help him. And you did. I was in love with him. Clara's voice cracked. Or thought I was. I was 25 years old, terrified, and the man I was going to marry was telling me he'd made a terrible mistake. So yes, I helped him. I paid the families to settle civil suits. I used my father's connections to make the criminal investigation go away. I created a paper trail that made it look like the CFO acted alone. And Marcus signed a confession saying he'd been compromised, that he'd failed in his duty to protect the CEO, but he wasn't complicit in the murder. But he was. Yes, and I've lived with that guilt every day since. 3 people died because I covered for a murderer. Because I chose love over justice. Because I was weak. Jake tried to process this. Why should I believe you over him? Because I have proof. Clara pulled out her phone, pulled up a video file. This is security footage from the warehouse. The fire department recovered it from a damaged camera. It's grainy, but you can see Marcus pouring accelerant near the exit. You can see him blocking the door when Jenna Ross tried to escape. Watch." She pressed play. Jake watched the silent video, black and white, distorted by heat and smoke. A figure in tactical gear moving through shadows, pouring something from a container. Another figure running toward a door, pounding on it. The first figure standing there, not moving, not helping, just watching. Then the screen went white as the fire consumed the camera. "Jesus Christ," Jake whispered. "I didn't know until a year later. I found this footage in my father's safe after he died. He'd been investigating. Marcus suspected something was wrong, but he never told me, never told anyone, just kept the evidence locked away. Why? Because he was protecting the company. If this came out, we'd be destroyed. So he kept Marcus quiet with that severance package, kept me in the dark, and let the whole thing die with the investigation." Jake felt sick. "So you ended the engagement after you found this? That's why Marcus is trying to destroy you?" "Yes. I confronted him. Told him I had proof that I should have turned him in years ago. He said if I exposed him, he'd expose me, claim I was part of the plan, that I knew about the fire beforehand. It'd be his word against mine, and the company would go down either way. So we made a deal. He stays quiet about my involvement. I stay quiet about his. Mutually assured destruction. Except he's not staying quiet anymore. No. Because 6 months ago I started changing the company. Started pushing for ethics reforms, accountability, transparency. Everything my father hated. Everything Marcus knows will eventually expose him. So he's trying to discredit me first. Make me look like the corrupt one, so when the truth comes out, no one believes me." The car pulled up outside a nondescript office building. Marcus came around, opened Clara's door. "Where are we?" Jake asked. "Donovan Security Group headquarters. I want you to meet the team you'll be training. I want you to see what we're really trying to build here." Clara stepped out, then turned back. "And Jake, I know you got a call today, from Marcus or someone working for him. I know they offered you money, offered to protect Ella. I know they painted me as a monster." "How?" "Because it's what I do. It's straight from my father's playbook. Find the leverage, exploit the weakness, turn the target against his allies. Marcus learned from the best." Clara's eyes were hard. "So I'm not going to beg you to trust me. I'm not going to promise I'm one of the good guys. But I will tell you this. Whatever Marcus promised you, whatever safety he offered, it's a lie. He doesn't protect people, Jake. He uses them. And when they're no longer useful, he buries them. Like Jenna Ross. Like Jenna Ross. Like the 2 operatives who died in Denver. Like every person who's ever gotten close to his secrets." Clara held Jake's gaze. "I'm giving you a choice. Work with me, help me fix this company, and stop Marcus before he hurts anyone else. Or work with him, take his money, and hope you don't become his next casualty. But whatever you choose, choose fast. Because your 24 hours are ticking, and I guarantee Marcus isn't just sitting around waiting for your answer." She walked toward the building, Marcus following. Jake sat in the car, his mind spinning. Both of them were offering salvation. Both claiming the other was the villain. Both had evidence, explanations, reasons why they were right and their enemy was wrong. But only one of them was lying. Jake just had to figure out which one before his daughter paid the price. He got out of the car, followed Clara into the building, and tried to ignore the voice in his head that sounded like Sarah. "You always run toward danger, Jake. One of these days, it's going to catch you." Maybe today was that day. The elevator took them to the 5th floor. The doors opened onto a modern office space, all glass and steel and expensive furniture. A receptionist smiled at Clara, buzzed them through security doors, and suddenly they were in the operational heart of Donovan Security Group. Operatives in tactical gear moved through hallways. Computer monitors showed security feeds from a dozen different locations. A training room visible through interior windows held people running drills, practicing takedowns, going through scenarios Jake had taught 100 times at Sentinel. "This is the nerve center," Clara said, leading him through. We protect 73 clients across 8 states. Corporate executives, politicians, celebrities, witnesses, and high-profile trials. Every person here is dedicated to keeping those clients safe. Looks impressive, Jake said. But impressive doesn't mean ethical. No, it doesn't. That's why you're here. Come on. She led him to a conference room where 5 people waited. 3 men, 2 women, all in their 30s or 40s, all with the same watchful eyes Jake recognized. Security professionals. The real deal. Everyone, this is Jake Miller. Jake, this is the senior training staff. They'll be working with you to implement the new protocols. A woman with short dark hair spoke first. Respectfully, Ms. Donovan, we don't need new protocols. We need more operatives. We're stretched thin as it is. We need both, Clara said. But Kate, when was the last time we had a complaint from a client? A lawsuit from someone claiming our operatives used excessive force? Kate looked uncomfortable. Last month, the Riverside incident, where our operative broke a photographer's arm because he got too close to our client. The photographer was being aggressive. The photographer was doing his job, and our operative didn't de-escalate, didn't try verbal warnings, just went straight to physical force. That's the problem. We train people to be hammers, so everything looks like a nail. Another man, older with gray in his beard, leaned back. With all due respect, Ms. Donovan, your father built this company on strength, on making sure threats knew we were more dangerous than they were. You start softening that approach, you start showing weakness, clients will leave. Then they leave, Clara said sharply. I'd rather have fewer clients and keep my integrity than build an empire on fear and brutality. That's easy to say when you inherited money, the man shot back. Some of us need this job to survive. Which is why I'm not firing anyone. I'm training you to be better. Jake, tell them what you did at the diner. Jake realized everyone was looking at him, waiting, judging. 2 guys harassing a woman, Jake said. I intervened, used verbal de-escalation, first gave them multiple chances to leave peacefully. Only went physical when they attacked me. Restrained them without causing serious injury. Whole thing was over in seconds. And if they'd had weapons, the older man asked, if they'd been real threats instead of corporate plants in a PR stunt, then I'd have adapted. But the principle stays the same. You don't escalate unless you have to. You protect people, not your ego. That's naive, Kate said. In the real world, hesitation gets you killed. In the real world, unnecessary violence gets you sued and your client exposed. Jake met her eyes. I worked corporate security for 8 years. Protected CEOs, diplomats, witnesses. Know how many times I had to seriously hurt someone twice, out of hundreds of situations. Because most threats aren't looking for a fight. They're looking for an opportunity. You remove the opportunity, you remove the threat. The room was silent. Then a younger woman, Hispanic with kind eyes, spoke up. I'd like to learn that. How to read situations better. How to know when to push and when to back off. That's the idea, Clara said. Jake's going to develop a training program. Everyone goes through it, including me. We're going to rebuild this company's reputation one operation at a time. Assuming we survive long enough, the older man muttered. What's that supposed to mean? Clara's voice went cold. Nothing. Just that change makes people uncomfortable. Makes them look elsewhere for services. Or it makes them trust us more. We'll find out soon enough. Clara turned to Jake. I'll leave you with them. Get to know the team. Ask questions. If you still want to walk away after this, I'll understand. She left, and Jake was alone with 5 people who clearly didn't want him there. The older man stood first. Tom Reeves, 20 years in this business, and I'll be straight with you, Miller. This ethics push, it's going to get someone killed. Maybe you, maybe one of us, maybe a client. But someone's going to die because we hesitated when we should have acted. Or someone's going to live because we acted smart instead of fast, Jake countered. You ever consider that? Every day, And every day I come to the same conclusion. World's a dangerous place. Needs dangerous people to keep it safe. Dangerous doesn't mean reckless. We'll see. Tom headed for the door. For what it's worth, Miller, I don't blame you. You're just doing what Clara's paying you to do. But when this all goes south, remember I warned you. He left. The others followed except the younger woman who'd spoken up earlier. Don't mind Tom, she said. He's old school. Been here since Clara's father ran things. Change scares him. What about you? Jake asked. Does it scare you? Terrifies me. But I also know the old way wasn't sustainable. We were losing good people to burn-out trauma lawsuits. Something had to change. She extended her hand. Maria Santos. Been here 5 years. I'd be happy to help with your training program however I can. Jake shook her hand. What happened in Denver? Were you around for that? Maria's expression shifted. I was. Heard about it anyway. None of the details, just that there was an operation that went bad and people died. Tom was on that detail actually. He and Marcus Vale. They don't talk about it. Tom was in Denver. Yeah, he and Marcus go way back. Worked together before Donovan. That's why Clara brought him in. He's loyal to Marcus. Jake's mind raced. If Tom was in Denver, if he was loyal to Marcus, then he was potentially an enemy inside Clara's own company. Maria, can I ask you something? Off the record. Sure. Do you trust Clara? Maria thought about that for a long moment. I trust that she's trying. Whether she'll succeed? That's another question. This company has a lot of history. A lot of people invested in keeping things the way they were. Change doesn't happen easy in organizations like this. That's not an answer. No, it's not. Maria smiled sadly. But it's the only one I've got. I hope Clara's right. I hope you can help make us better. But hoping isn't the same as believing. She left too, and Jake stood alone in the conference room looking out over the operational floor. Dozens of people working, protecting, serving. All of them believing they were the good guys. Maybe they were. Maybe Clara was trying to genuinely reform her father's company. Or maybe this was all an elaborate performance and Jake was too desperate to see the truth. His phone buzzed. Text from Mrs. Chen. Ella asking when you come home. I tell her soon. You okay? Jake typed back. Soon. An hour maybe. Thank you for watching her. Another buzz. Different phone. The burner. Unknown number. Just 3 words. Clock is ticking. Jake looked at the message at the operational floor at the empire Clara was trying to rebuild into something better. Thought about Denver, about fires and lies and dead bodies, about who to believe when everyone's lying. Then he thought about Ella safe with Mrs. Chen making dumplings and watching cartoons, innocent and trusting and believing her father was a hero who could protect her from anything. He couldn't let her down. Not again. Jake made his decision. Jake found Clara in her office on the 6th floor, standing by the window overlooking the city. She didn't turn when he entered, just kept staring out at the skyline like she could see the future written in the buildings. I'm in, Jake said. But on my terms. Clara turned, surprise flickering across her face. Your terms. I want full access. To everything. Files, security footage, personnel records. If I'm going to help you fix this company, I need to know what I'm fixing. No secrets, no compartmentalization. That's a lot of trust to ask for on day one. You asked me to trust you with my daughter's life. This is less. Clara studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Agreed. Marcus Webb will set you up with clearance. But Jake, if you're doing this, you need to understand something. Once you're inside, once you see what we really do, there's no walking away clean. You'll know things. Things people have killed to protect. I've known things before. I'm still here. Are you? Clara's voice was soft. Because from where I'm standing, you look like a man who's been running from things for 2 years. Since Sarah died. Since everything fell apart. You're not here because you trust me. You're here because you're desperate, and desperate men make mistakes. Jake felt anger flash hot in his chest. You don't know anything about me. I know you blame yourself for not saving her. I know you worked yourself to exhaustion trying to pay medical bills that bankrupted you anyway. I know you held her hand when she died and promised you'd take care of Ella and every day since you felt like you're failing. I know because I've seen it. That look in your eyes, the same one I see in the mirror. We're not the same. No, but we're both trying to fix things we can't fix. Me with my father's company. You with your family's future. The difference is, I've accepted I can't bring back the people who died in Denver. Have you accepted you can't bring back Sarah? Jake's hands clenched into fists. Don't talk about her. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to make sure you understand what you're walking into. Because if you're still drowning in grief, if you're not thinking clearly, you'll miss something. And in this business, missing something gets people killed. I'm fine. You're not. But maybe that's okay. Maybe neither of us has to be fine. We just have to be good enough. Clara moved to her desk, pulled out a folder. This is everything on Marcus Vale. Where he lives, where he works, who he talks to, who he pays. If you're serious about helping me stop him, start here. Jake took the folder. Inside were photographs, financial records, phone logs. His new life, apparently. Trading one kind of surveillance for another. I need to pick up my daughter, Jake said. Get her settled, then I'll start digging through this. Take Marcus Webb with you. For protection. I don't need protection. Yes, you do. Marcus Vale isn't playing games anymore. He's escalating. The photos of Ella, the note in her backpack, all of it means he's ready to move. And when he moves fast. Jake wanted to argue, but she was right. He was one man against an organization he didn't understand, with resources he couldn't match. Pride was a luxury he couldn't afford. Fine. But he stays in the car. Ella doesn't need to know about any of this. Agreed. Marcus Webb drove Jake back to his apartment building in silence. The man didn't make small talk, didn't ask questions, just drove with the focused intensity of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Jake appreciated it. He was tired of talking, tired of explaining, tired of everyone wanting something from him. Mrs. Chen opened her door when Jake knocked Ella visible behind her, covered in flour. Daddy, we made dumplings. Mrs. Chen taught me how to fold them and everything. Jake's chest loosened, seeing her smile. That's great, baby. You ready to go home? Can we bring some dumplings? Mrs. Chen made so many. Of course we can. Jake took the container Mrs. Chen offered, thanked her profusely, promised to return the favor somehow, even though they both knew he had nothing to offer. Back in their apartment, Jake set Ella up with dinner and cartoons while he opened Marcus Vale's folder. Started reading. Started trying to make sense of the man who was threatening his daughter. Marcus Vale, 41, former Army Ranger, decorated service in Afghanistan, honorable discharge after 8 years, joined Donovan's security group. 11 years ago, rose quickly through ranks, became Clara's right hand and fiancé. Then Denver happened. Then everything fell apart. Current employment, independent security consultant. Clients included 3 tech companies, 2 law firms, and a surprising number of politicians. Made good money by the looks of his tax returns. Lived in a penthouse downtown. Drove expensive cars. Dated models and actresses. Didn't look like a man being persecuted by his ex-fiancée. Looked like a man who'd landed on his feet. But appearances could be deceiving. Jake knew that better than anyone. His regular phone buzzed. Text from Clara. Tom Reeves just quit. Said he can't work for a company that's going soft. Thought you should know. Jake stared at the message. Tom, who'd been in Denver. Tom, who was loyal to Marcus. Tom, who'd warned Jake that change would get someone killed. Tom, who was now free to work directly for Marcus without the pretense of loyalty to Clara. Jake's burner phone buzzed next. The mystery number. Time's up, Mr. Miller. We need an answer. Meet us at the Riverside Warehouse on Dock Street. Midnight. Come alone. Or we start sending pieces of your daughter's stuffed rabbit to you. Then we move on to pieces of her. Jake's vision tunneled, the words blurred and refocused. Pieces of her. He was moving before he realized it, grabbing his jacket, checking that Ella was absorbed in her show. Baby, I need to run out for a minute. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me. Daddy, where are you going? Just downstairs. Won't be long. He called Marcus Webb from the hallway. I need you to come up, now. Watch my daughter. Don't let anyone near this apartment. What's happening? Just do it, please. Marcus was there in 90 seconds, his hand inside his jacket where Jake knew a gun rested. Talk to me. Someone's threatening Ella. I have to meet them. Need you here making sure she's safe. You're not going alone. I have to. That's suicide. Then I die. But my daughter lives. That's the deal. Jake pulled out the burner phone, showed Marcus the text. Midnight. Riverside Warehouse. You stay here. Keep Ella safe until I get back. And if you don't get back, then you call Clara. Tell her everything. She'll know what to do. Marcus studied him for a long moment. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Keys are on the counter. There's food in the fridge. Ella goes to bed at 8:30. She likes to sleep with the hallway light on. And Marcus? Yeah. If anything happens to her while I'm gone, I don't care that you're ex-military or that you work for Clara. I will end you. Understand? Marcus almost smiled. Understood. Go. We'll be fine. Jake took the stairs instead of the elevator, came out the back exit, checked for surveillance. Saw nothing obvious, but knew that meant nothing. If Marcus Vale had taught operators at Donovan, he'd know every trick Jake knew, and probably a dozen more. The Riverside Warehouse was 40 minutes away by bus. Jake used the time to think, to plan, to prepare for what might be a trap, or a negotiation, or his own execution. Hard to say which at this point. The warehouse district was exactly what it sounded like. Abandoned buildings, broken streetlights, the smell of the river mixing with industrial decay. The kind of place where bad things happened and no one asked questions. Jake found the address. Riverside Warehouse, faded letters on brick. One door hung open, spilling yellow light into the darkness. He checked his watch, 11:58. Took a breath. Thought about Ella. About Sarah. About all the times he'd walked into danger thinking he was immortal because he was good, and good men didn't die. Sarah had died, though. Good people died all the time. He walked through the door. The warehouse was mostly empty, just concrete floors and metal beams and shadows. 3 men waited in the center, lit by a single hanging work light. Jake recognized Tom Reeves immediately. The other 2 were younger, harder, with the look of men who hurt people for money. Mr. Miller. Tom's voice echoed in the empty space. Glad you could make it. Where's Marcus Vale? Not here. This is between you and me for now. Then start talking. What do you want? Information. Clara's planning something. We need to know what. How would I know? I just got hired today. But you'll have access. She's giving you clearance, bringing you inside. You'll see things, hear things. All we need is for you to share those things with us. Why should I? Tom stepped closer, his face hard in the harsh light. Because I was in Denver, Miller. I was there when Clara Donovan murdered 3 people. I watched her pour that accelerant. I watched her lock that door. And I watched her let Marcus Vale take the fall because she's a coward who hides behind money and family connections. Jake's pulse hammered. Clara said Marcus started the fire. Of course she did. That's what guilty people do. They lie. They manipulate. They make themselves the victim. But I was there. I saw what really happened. Tom pulled out a phone, showed Jake photos. This is Jenna Ross, 26 years old, engaged, pregnant. She died screaming, beating on that door, while Clara stood on the other side and did nothing. The photo showed a young woman in tactical gear, smiling at the camera hand on her belly, alive and hopeful, and having no idea she'd be dead within a month. Why didn't you testify? Jake asked. Why didn't you tell the police what you saw? Because I was young and scared and Marcus convinced me it would ruin my life. That Clara's lawyers would destroy me, that I'd go to prison right alongside her. So I kept quiet, and I've regretted it every day since. But now you're working with Marcus to take her down. Now I'm trying to stop her before she does it again. Because whatever she's planning, whatever operation she's running, people are going to die. Just like Denver. Just like always with the Donovans. They chew people up and spit them out and call it business. Jake wanted to believe him. Tom's story fit the facts, explained the gaps, made Clara into the monster she might actually be. But something was wrong. Something in Tom's eyes. Something too rehearsed about his speech. "Show me proof," Jake said. "Real proof. Not photos, not stories. Show me evidence Clara started that fire." Tom's expression shifted. "I just told you. You told me a story. Stories aren't evidence. You were there, right? So where's your testimony? Where are the burn patterns? Where's the forensic analysis showing Clara's involvement?" "It was buried. She paid people." "Then how do you know it existed? How do you know what the evidence showed if it was buried before you saw it?" Jake stepped closer. "You're lying. You weren't there. Or you were, and you're covering for the real killer. Either way, I'm done with this conversation." He turned to leave. One of the younger men stepped in front of him. "We're not done. Move. Or what, old man, you going to flip me like those guys at the diner? This isn't a restaurant. Nobody's recording. Nobody's watching." Jake's training kicked in automatic. Read the stance. Assess the threat. Calculate the exits. 2 men behind him. 1 in front. All armed, probably. All younger and fresher than a guy running on fear and adrenaline. Bad odds. Really bad odds. "Last chance," Jake said quietly. "Move or I move you. Your choice." The man laughed. "You got heart. I'll give you that." Then he swung. Jake ducked, drove his shoulder into the man's midsection, used momentum to slam him into the concrete pillar. The man's head hit metal with a crack that sounded final. He dropped. The other 2 rushed him together. Jake caught the first one's arm, twisted, felt something snap. The man screamed. Jake used him as a shield against the second man's punch, then shoved the injured one away, and went low, sweeping the legs out from under number 2. Both men on the ground in less than 10 seconds. Tom hadn't moved. Just watched, with cold eyes. "You're good," Tom said. "Better than I expected. But this changes nothing. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time. Work with us or your daughter pays." "You won't touch her." Jake's voice was ice. "Because the second you do, you lose your leverage. And you know it. Maybe. Or maybe we're willing to lose leverage to send a message." Tom pulled a gun from his jacket, not pointing it at Jake yet, just holding it, making a point. "People need to understand that Clara Donovan destroys everyone she touches. You, your daughter, everyone. So yes, maybe we hurt the girl. Maybe we make an example. Maybe we show the world what happens when you protect monsters." Jake's vision went red. "Put the gun away." "Or what?" "Or, I take it from you and show you what happens when you threaten my family." Tom smiled. Actually smiled. "There it is. That rage. That violence. You're just like us, Miller. You just pretend you're not. But deep down you're a killer, looking for permission. I'm a father protecting his daughter. Same thing." The warehouse door slammed open. 3 figures in tactical gear swept in, weapons raised, moving with professional precision. Jake recognized the lead figure immediately. Marcus Webb, Clara's head of security. "Drop the weapon!" Marcus's voice boomed through the space. "Drop it now!" Tom hesitated, calculating. Then slowly lowered the gun, set it on the ground. "Hands up, all of you." Tom and his 2 men complied. Jake stood frozen, trying to understand what was happening. Marcus moved forward, kicked Tom's gun away, kept his own weapon trained on the 3 men. The 2 operatives with him covered the exits. "You okay, Miller?" Marcus asked without looking at him. "Yeah. How did you... GPS tracker in your phone? Clara's orders." Said you'd probably do something stupid. Marcus looked at Tom. Tom Reeves. Haven't seen you since Denver. Still lying about what happened there. I'm not lying. She killed them. You know she did. What I know is, you were supposed to be watching the east exit. You abandoned your post. That's why Jenna Ross couldn't get out, because you weren't where you were supposed to be. Marcus's voice was flat factual. You got scared. You ran. And Jenna died because of it. That's not what happened. The fire department found your gear 60 feet from your assigned position. Found your radio abandoned. Found evidence you left your post at least 5 minutes before the fire started. Marcus stepped closer. You want to blame Clara, blame Marcus Vale, fine. But we both know the truth. You're responsible for Jenna's death, and you've been trying to rewrite history ever since. Tom's face twisted. You don't know anything. I know everything. Clara had me investigating you for months. Ever since you started asking questions, stirring up trouble. We know about your meetings with Marcus Vale, about the money he's paying you, about the plan to frame Clara for Denver so he can take over the company. Marcus gestured to his operatives. Cuff them, all 3. The operatives moved in. Tom and his men didn't resist, just stood there looking defeated. Marcus finally lowered his weapon, turned to Jake. You're lucky we got here when we did. Tom's unhinged. He'd have killed you. I had it under control. Sure you did. That's why you were surrounded by 3 armed men in an abandoned warehouse. Marcus holstered his gun. Come on, let's get you home to your daughter. They walked out together, leaving Tom and his men to be processed by Clara's operatives. Jake's hands were shaking now, adrenaline crash hitting hard. Why did you follow me? Jake asked. Clara told you to. She knew you'd try to handle this alone, knew your protective instincts would override your common sense. So yeah, she had me shadow you. Good thing too. Tom said he was in Denver, said he saw Clara start the fire. Tom wasn't in Denver when the fire started. He'd already left his post. By the time he came back, the building was engulfed. He saw smoke and flames and guilt, and his brain filled in the rest. Made Clara the villain so he didn't have to be. And Marcus Vale. The real Marcus Vale. Marcus Webb's jaw tightened. That's complicated. Everything about this is complicated. True, but some complications are deadlier than others. Marcus opened the car door for Jake. Get in. We need to get back before Ella wakes up scared. They drove in silence. Jake stared out the window, watching the city blur past, trying to make sense of everything. Tom's lies. Marcus's truths. Clara's secrets. Somewhere in all of it was reality, but damned if Jake could see it clearly. When they got back to the apartment, Marcus checked the perimeter, cleared each room, made sure everything was secure. Ella was asleep on the couch, the TV playing cartoons on low volume. She didn't even stir, Marcus said quietly. Good kid. Brave. She gets that from her mother. Jake picked Ella up, gently, carried her to her bed. Tucked her in. Kissed her forehead. Whispered promises he hoped he could keep. When he came back out, Marcus was waiting by the door. Clara wants to see you. Tomorrow morning. Says it's time you learned the whole truth about Denver. I thought I just did. You learned Tom's version, and my version. But there's still one more. The version that actually matters. Marcus handed Jake a key card. This gets you into Clara's private residence. 8th floor penthouse. Be there at 7. She'll tell you everything. And if I don't want to know everything, then you're smarter than both of us, but you'll come anyway. Because you need to know if you're working for a hero or a monster, and you won't trust anyone else to tell you. Marcus left. Jake sat on the couch in the dark, listening to Ella breathe in the next room, feeling the weight of choices he'd made, and choices still coming. His phone buzzed. Text from Clara. Thank you for trusting me. I know you didn't. Not really. But you showed up anyway. That takes courage. See you tomorrow. We'll finish this. Jake didn't respond. Just sat there in the dark thinking about fires and lies and the men who died in Denver. Thinking about Sarah and how she'd tell him to walk away to take Ella and run, to stop trying to save everyone when he couldn't even save himself. But walking away wasn't an option anymore. He was in this now, deep enough to drown. The only question was whether he'd take Ella down with him. Outside his window in a car parked 3 blocks away, a man watched Jake's apartment through night vision binoculars. The man pulled out his phone, dialed a number he'd memorized but never saved. "It's done," the man said when someone answered. "Miller took the bait. He's right where we need him." A voice responded too quiet to hear through the phone. "No, he doesn't suspect. Neither does Clara. They think Tom was working for you. They have no idea." The man paused. "Tomorrow morning she'll tell him about Denver, the real story. And that's when we move. When he's vulnerable. When he thinks he finally understands." Another pause. "Yes, sir. The girl's safe. For now. But if Miller doesn't cooperate after tomorrow, we'll have no choice. You said casualties were acceptable if necessary." The voice on the other end grew sharper. "I understand. Minimal casualties. But sir, with all respect, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. And this omelet, it's going to break a lot more than eggs before we're done." The man hung up. Watched Jake's apartment a moment longer. Then started the car and drove away into darkness, leaving Jake Miller and his daughter to sleep, unaware that tomorrow would change everything. Unaware that the real enemy wasn't Tom Reeves or Marcus Vail or even Clara Donovan. The real enemy was someone Jake had never met. Someone who'd been watching him since long before that day at the diner. Someone who needed Jake Miller alive just long enough to destroy everything Clara Donovan had built. And then needed him dead so the truth would die with him. Jake woke at 5:30, having never really slept. Every sound in the hallway was a threat. Every car outside was surveillance. Every shadow was someone coming for Ella. He made coffee, checked that Ella was still breathing, checked the locks on the door, checked his phone for messages that would tell him the world was ending. Nothing. Just silence, and the weight of knowing he'd been playing a game whose rules he didn't understand. At 6 he called Mrs. Chen, asked if Ella could spend the day with her, said he had job training. Mrs. Chen agreed without questions, bless her. By 6:30, Ella was eating dumplings for breakfast next door, chattering about school and friends, and completely unaware her father was walking into whatever waited at Clara's penthouse. Jake took the bus downtown, Marcus Webb's keycard heavy in his pocket. The building was modern glass and steel, the kind of place where apartments cost more than Jake would make in 5 years. Security waved him through when he showed the keycard, directed him to the private elevator. The ride up felt like sentencing. The elevator opened directly into Clara's penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows, showing the city waking up furniture that probably cost more than Jake's car had when he'd owned a car, everything clean and expensive and lonely. Clara stood by the windows, coffee cup in hand, still wearing yesterday's clothes. She looked exhausted, human maybe for the first time since Jake had met her. "You came," she said without turning. "You knew I would." "I hoped, but knowing and hoping are different things." Clara turned to face him. "Coffee?" "No. Just the truth. All of it. No more games." Clara nodded, set down her cup. "Sit. This is going to take a while." Jake didn't sit. Stayed standing, stayed ready to run or fight or whatever came next. "Fine. Stand then." Clara took a breath. 3 years ago, my father sent me to Denver to protect Richard Chen, CEO of Nexus Technologies. He'd been getting death threats. Standard corporate protection detail. I took Marcus Vail, Tom Reeves, and 3 other operatives. Everything was going smoothly until Richard's CFO, a man named David Park, contacted us. Said he had information about who was threatening Richard. Wanted to meet at a warehouse off the books. No police. No company knowledge. "That should have been a red flag," Jake said. It was, but Richard insisted. Said David had been his friend for 20 years, that he trusted him completely. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We went to the warehouse. Richard, me, Marcus, Tom, and two operatives named Jenna Ross and Kevin Park. David's brother, actually. That's how deep the betrayal went. Clara's voice was flat, mechanical, reciting facts like a police report. We got there around midnight. The warehouse was empty, or seemed to be. David was there, told us he had proof the threats were coming from a rival company. Showed us documents, emails, everything. But something felt wrong. The way he was acting, the way he kept checking his watch. It was a trap, Jake said. Yes, but not the kind we expected. Kevin Park, the operative, he was working with his brother David. They'd planned the whole thing. Embezzling from Nexus, planning to kill Richard and make it look like the rival company did it. But they needed us there to make it credible. Needed witnesses who'd testify they saw evidence against the rival company before Richard died. Clara walked to the window, stared out at nothing. Kevin pulled his gun first, shot Marcus in the shoulder before anyone could react. Then he aimed at Richard. And Jenna Ross, brave stupid Jenna, she jumped in front of the shot, took a bullet meant for our client. Jake felt his chest tighten. She died protecting him. She died instantly, and that's when everything went to hell. Tom panicked, ran for the exit. David had rigged the building with accelerant, probably planning to burn it all down once we were dead. But Kevin's gunshot set off sparks. The whole place ignited. Marcus was bleeding out. Richard was in shock. Tom was gone. And the other operative, a kid named James, he was trying to drag Jenna's body out. Trying to save someone who was already dead. "Where were you?" Jake asked. "I was trying to get everyone out, but the fire spread too fast. The exits were blocked. The smoke was choking us. Marcus was barely conscious. Richard was screaming. And I had maybe 30 seconds to decide who lived and who died." Clara's voice cracked. "I chose wrong." "What do you mean?" "I told James to leave Jenna. Told him we couldn't save her, that we had to focus on the living. He refused. Started dragging her toward what he thought was an exit. But it wasn't. It was where David had concentrated the accelerant. He ran right into it. The explosion killed him instantly." "That's not your fault," Jake said quietly. "Isn't it? I gave the order. I told him to leave her, and when he didn't listen, I didn't stop him. I was so focused on getting Marcus and Richard out that I lost track of James. And he died because I failed to lead." Clara turned to face Jake, tears streaming down her face. "That's the truth about Denver. Not that I started the fire. Not that Marcus did. But that I failed. Failed to see the trap. Failed to protect my team. Failed to save two good people who trusted me." What happened to David and Kevin Park? Dead. David died in the fire. Kevin tried to run, but the police caught him 3 blocks away. He's serving life without parole. The evidence we recovered proved the whole conspiracy, proved Richard was innocent, proved everything except that I'm fit to run this company. Jake processed this, matching it against Tom's story, against Marcus Vale's involvement. So where does the real Marcus Vale fit in? Why did he take the fall? Clara's expression hardened. "Because I asked him to. Because the official investigation couldn't find Kevin's accomplice, couldn't prove David was the mastermind. The evidence burned. Kevin refused to talk. And Nexus's board wanted someone to blame. They wanted accountability. So Marcus signed a confession saying he'd failed in his duty to protect Richard, that his injury proved he'd been compromised. He fell on his sword so the company would survive. And you let him. I begged him not to, but he insisted, said it was the only way to save both the company and my career. That my father would never forgive me if I destroyed everything he'd built. So I let Marcus sacrifice himself, let him take the blame, let him walk away with nothing but a severance check and a ruined reputation. That doesn't sound like the Marcus Vale who's trying to destroy you now." "It's not, because 6 months after Denver I found out the truth." Clara pulled out her phone, showed Jake a document. Marcus was Kevin Park's accomplice. He was part of the embezzlement. He knew about the trap. He got shot because Kevin got nervous, thought Marcus might betray them. The confession wasn't noble sacrifice. It was Marcus cutting a deal. He confessed to negligence to avoid charges for conspiracy to murder. Jake stared at the document. Bank transfers, email chains, evidence that Marcus Vale had been stealing from Nexus for 2 years before Denver. Why didn't you turn him in? Because my father had already paid the families, already made the civil suits disappear, already buried the evidence. If I exposed Marcus, I'd have to expose all of it. The cover-up, the bribes, everything my father did to protect the company. And that would destroy us anyway. Clara's voice was bitter. So I made a deal with the devil, kept Marcus's secret, let him keep his money. In exchange, he stayed quiet about my failure in Denver, mutually assured destruction. Until you started changing the company. Until I started changing everything my father built, everything Marcus helped him build. And suddenly our deal wasn't enough. Marcus needed me gone completely. Needed someone he could control running Donovan Security. Someone who'd let him come back, let him continue stealing, let him run the company the way my father did. Jake sat down finally, the weight of it all too much. Who's he trying to replace you with? Clara smiled sadly. That's the genius part. He doesn't want to replace me with a person. He wants to replace me with a scandal. Destroy my credibility so completely that the board has to remove me. Then he comes back as the savior, the man who was wronged, the loyal soldier who can restore the company's reputation. By using me. By using you. You were perfect. The broke hero with a daughter. The man who'd do anything to protect his kid. All Marcus had to do was make you desperate enough to turn on me. Make you believe I was the villain. Then when you exposed me, your story would be credible. The single father just trying to do the right thing. Much more believable than a disgraced ex-employee with an axe to grind. Jake felt sick. The diner. That wasn't your test. That was his. Yes, Marcus knew I'd been looking for someone to help reform the company. Knew I was frustrated with the old guard. So he staged the harassment, made sure you'd be there, made sure you'd intervene. Then he had Tom Reeves pretend to be my employee. Had him offer you the job before I could. Gave you 2 competing narratives and let you choose which one to believe. But you offered me the job first. Because Marcus Webb, my head of security, warned me what was happening. Told me Marcus Vale was running a play on you, so I moved fast. Offered you the job before Vale could close the trap. But I had to give you access, had to let you inside because that's what Vale's plan required. He needed you to see enough to make you doubt me. To make you desperate enough to betray me. Jake's head was spinning. So everything since the diner has been 2 separate operations running simultaneously. You trying to recruit me. Vale trying to turn me. Yes. And we both knew whoever won your loyalty won the war. Because you're credible, Jake. You're the hero everyone believes in. Your testimony about what kind of person I am, that matters. That changes everything. What if I'd chosen him? What if I'd believed Tom's story? Then I'd be ruined. Vale would have evidence of me offering you money to lie about Denver. Would have recordings of me trying to manipulate you. Would have enough to convince the board I'm corrupt. And you'd have $150,000 and a daughter in permanent danger because Vale doesn't leave loose ends. Jake stood up, paced to the window. So what happens now? Tom Reeves is in custody. Marcus Vale knows his plan failed. Where does that leave us? In the worst possible position. Clara's voice was grim. Because now Vale knows I have you. Knows you chose me over him. Which means he can't win by turning you. He has to destroy you instead. Has to make you disappear before you can testify about anything. And the best way to make you disappear is through Ella. Jake's blood went cold. He'll take her, use her as leverage to force me to recant everything, to make me testify that you're corrupt. Or he'll just kill you both and claim you were unstable. Grief-stricken father snaps, kills his daughter, kills himself. Tragic but believable, and it removes the only witness I have to Vale's operation. We have Tom Reeves in custody. Tom will recant. Say you coerced him. Say Clara Donovan paid him to lie. Vale's been planning this for months, Jake. He's got contingencies for every scenario. Clara pulled out a folder, handed it to Jake. Except this one. Jake opened the folder. Inside were documents, photos, bank records, evidence of Marcus Vale's embezzlement going back 7 years, evidence of his involvement in 3 other incidents like Denver, evidence of bribes, threats, and at least 2 murders. "Where did you get this?" Jake breathed. "I've been building the case for 6 months, ever since I found out the truth about Denver. Used every resource my father left me. Hired investigators. Bribed Vale's associates. Collected evidence piece by piece until I had enough to put him away forever." Clara's voice was steel. "But I can't use it. Not without exposing my own involvement. Not without admitting I covered for him after Denver. The second I turn this over to police, I go down with him. So it's useless. Not useless. Insurance. Mutually assured destruction. I keep this evidence locked away and Vale leaves me alone. He tries to destroy me, I release everything, and we both go to prison." "That's not a life," Jake said. "That's a stalemate. That's survival. And sometimes survival is enough." Jake looked at the evidence, at the proof of Marcus Vale's crimes, at the lever that could end this, but would destroy Clara in the process. Thought about Ella, about keeping her safe, about what kind of father let his daughter live in the shadow of this threat forever. "There's another option," Jake said slowly. "What option?" "We don't use this evidence against Marcus Vale in court. We use it against him directly. Make him think you're going to expose everything. Make him desperate enough to move against you personally. And when he does, we're ready. We catch him in the act. And this time, there's no cover-up, no deals, just Marcus Vale going to prison for trying to kill you." Clara stared at him. "That's insane. You're talking about making myself bait." "I'm talking about ending this. Really ending it. Not just kicking the can down the road until he finds another angle." Jake met her eyes. "You want to reform your father's company? You want to build something better. You can't do it with Marcus Vale hanging over your head. You need him gone. And this is the only way that doesn't destroy you too. It's too dangerous. It's the only play we have left. Unless you want to spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Unless you want Ella spending her childhood in witness protection because Vale might use her against me. Unless you want to build a new company on the foundation of old lies." Clara was silent for a long time. Jake watched emotions flicker across her face. Fear, hope, desperation. The same emotions he'd felt every day since Sarah died. Finally, she spoke. "If we do this, people could die. You, me, your daughter. People could die anyway. At least this way we control the battlefield." "You sound like a soldier. I sound like a father. And fathers don't let threats to their children live forever." Clara pulled out her phone, typed something. "Marcus Webb will be here in 5 minutes. If we're doing this, we need him. He knows Vale's patterns, his contacts, his weaknesses. Together, maybe we have a chance. Maybe isn't good enough. Maybe is all we ever get." Marcus Webb arrived exactly 5 minutes later, took one look at their faces and said, "What's the plan?" Clara laid it out. Use the evidence to draw Vale into the open. Make him think she was going to the police. Force him to act before she could destroy him. Set a trap he couldn't resist. "He'll see it coming," Marcus said. "Vale's not stupid." "No, but he's arrogant. He thinks he's smarter than everyone. That's his weakness." Clara pulled up a schedule on her phone. "I'm speaking at a security industry conference tomorrow night. 500 people. Press coverage. Perfect platform to announce I'm cooperating with federal investigators about corruption in private security. Vale will know what that means. He'll have to move." "He'll hit you at the conference," Jake said. "Somewhere public where he can make it look like an accident or frame someone else." "Exactly, so we'll be ready. Marcus, you arrange security. Jake, you'll be on my personal detail. We make sure every angle is covered, every exit monitored, every possible attack vector neutralized." "And when Vale makes his move," Marcus asked, We take him alive, record everything, turn him over to police with evidence of attempted murder. No cover-ups this time, no deals, just justice. Jake felt his pulse hammering. This was insane. This was suicide. This was walking into crosshairs and hoping you were faster than the bullet. But it was also the only way forward. The only way to give Ella a future that didn't include bodyguards and fear and running from shadows. "I'm in," Jake said. "But on one condition. Ella stays far away from this. She goes somewhere safe, somewhere Vale can't reach her. And she stays there until this is over." "Agreed," Clara said. "I have a safe house upstate, remote, secure. I'll have operatives guard her around the clock." "Not your operatives. Vale might have people inside your company. I want someone I trust." Jake pulled out his phone. "Mrs. Chen, my neighbor. She loves Ella, and she's the last person Vale would think to look at." "A civilian," Marcus frowned. "That's risky. Everything about this is risky. At least this way I know Ella's with someone who actually cares about her. Not just someone following orders." Clara nodded. "Fine. Get Mrs. Chen and Ella to the safe house today. Make sure Vale's people don't follow. By tomorrow morning, your daughter is off the board completely." Jake called Mrs. Chen, explained he had to go out of town for work, asked if she could take Ella for a few days. Mrs. Chen agreed. Immediately started planning activities promised to make Ella's favorite foods. Bless that woman. By noon, Mrs. Chen and Ella were on a bus to the safe house accompanied by two of Marcus Webb's most trusted operatives. Jake watched them go from 3 blocks away, phone pressed to his ear so he could hear Ella's voice one more time. "Daddy, Mrs. Chen says we're going to a cabin in the woods, like a vacation." "That's right, baby. You're going to have so much fun." "When are you coming?" "Few days. I have work stuff, but I'll call you every night." "And Ella." "Yeah. I love you more than anything in the world. You know that, right?" "I know, Daddy. I love you too, even when you're boring and have to work all the time." Jake smiled through tears he wouldn't let fall. "Thanks, baby. Be good for Mrs. Chen." "I will. Bye, Daddy." The line went dead. Jake stood there holding his phone, watching the bus disappear into traffic, and wondered if he'd just said goodbye to his daughter for the last time. Clara's hand on his shoulder made him jump. "She'll be safe. I promise." "Don't make promises you can't keep." "Then I'll keep this one. Whatever happens tomorrow, Ella survives. That's non-negotiable." They spent the rest of the day preparing. Marcus Webb ran through security protocols, identified weak points in the conference center, positioned operatives at every choke point. Clara rehearsed her speech, the one that would declare war on Marcus Vale publicly and force his hand. Jake trained with Clara's security team, running drills, memorizing faces, learning who to trust and who might be compromised. By evening, he was exhausted. By midnight, he was terrified. At 2 in the morning, lying awake in the guest room of Clara's penthouse, Jake's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "I know what you're planning. Conference tomorrow. The trap. All of it. And I'm going to tell you something that will change everything. Clara Donovan didn't cover for me after Denver. I covered for her, because she's my sister, and I couldn't let her go to prison for our father's sins. Meet me. 1 hour. Pier 17. Come alone. I'll prove everything. And then you can decide who the real monster is." Jake stared at the message. Sister. Marcus Vale was Clara's brother. It made terrible sense, the way she protected him, the way he knew her weaknesses, the mutually assured destruction that went deeper than business. But it also made no sense. Clara would have mentioned it, would have told him. Unless she couldn't. Unless that was the secret she'd been hiding all along. Jake got dressed, left a note for Clara, and headed to the pier, knowing it might be a trap. Knowing he might not come back. But needing to know the truth before tomorrow. Before the conference. Before everything exploded. Pier 17 was abandoned, the water black and cold, the wind cutting through Jake's jacket. A figure stood at the end of the pier, silhouetted against city lights. Marcus Vale. But not the man from the photos. Older, grayer, wearing expensive clothes that didn't quite fit. He turned when Jake approached, and there was something in his face that looked like Clara. Same eyes, same determined jaw. Jake Miller, thank you for coming. Talk fast. I'm not staying long. Clara's my half-sister. Different mothers, same father. She doesn't know. Our father kept it secret to protect his reputation. But I've known since I was 18. Worked my way into his company specifically to be close to her. To protect her from him. Why should I believe you? Marcus pulled out documents. Birth certificates, DNA tests, photos of their father with 2 different women. Evidence that couldn't be faked easily. Because it's true. And because tomorrow Clara's going to walk into a trap thinking she's setting one. The conference isn't where I'll move. It's where someone else will. Someone who wants both of us dead so they can take over the company completely. Who? Marcus Webb. Clara's head of security. He's been playing both sides, working for me and against me. Feeding us both information, setting us against each other. And tomorrow when we're both focused on each other, he'll kill Clara and blame me. Then kill me and claim self-defense. And he'll walk away with everything. Jake felt the world tilt. You're lying. Am I? Think about it. How did Webb know to follow you to the warehouse? How did he know exactly where Tom Reeves would be? How does he always seem to be one step ahead? Marcus stepped closer. Because he's controlling the game, and we're all pieces he's moving around the board. Prove it. Marcus pulled out his phone, played a recording. Webb's voice talking to someone about timing, about making sure Vale and Clara destroyed each other about the payoff when it was done. Jake's blood went cold. Tomorrow at the conference, Webb will make his move. He'll kill Clara, then come for me, and you'll be caught in the crossfire. Unless we work together. Unless we stop him first. Jake stared at Marcus Vale, at the man who might be telling the truth, or might be the most dangerous liar he'd ever met. Tomorrow would reveal everything. Tomorrow someone was going to die. Jake just had to make sure it wasn't Clara. Wasn't Ella. Wasn't him. What do you need from me? Jake asked. Marcus Vale smiled. Just trust. And the willingness to kill the right person when the time comes. Jake thought about Sarah. About what she'd say. About whether being a good man still mattered in a world this broken. Then he thought about Ella. About her future. About making sure she grew up in a world where heroes weren't fools. Tell me the plan, Jake said. And Marcus Vale, brother or liar or some combination of both, started talking. Tomorrow would be chaos. Tomorrow would be violence. Tomorrow would reveal which monsters were real and which were masks. But tonight, Jake Miller made a choice. And whatever came next, he'd face it standing up, protecting the people who mattered, being the father Ella deserved, even if it killed him. Especially if it killed him. Because that's what heroes did. They died so others could live. And Jake Miller was done running from that truth.